Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Allie G Show for track 11. I can't believe we made it this far. This one is with Hillary Kupish, winner of the Great World Race, badass mom, badass runner. I am so grateful to Hillary for coming on the show to talk about her work life, running balance, the Great World Race, and everything in between. I very much fed off of her positive energy this entire track, and I cannot wait for you all to hear it. Okay, I am so honored and so grateful to be sitting here for today's track with badass mother and runner, Hillary Kupish. What's up, Hillary? Welcome to the Allie G Show.
Hello, thank you for having me. And for those that can see, my cat just joined in the background. Thank you for having me on today. Super excited to be here.
Thanks for being here. And I guess to kick things off, do you want to start by telling our listeners a little bit about who you are, where you're from, what you do outside of running? Because I know you from your On the Runs, of course. And I know you from Instagram and your running, but I would love for you to share it with our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Hillary Kupish. I am 37 years old and I live in Bend, Oregon. For those of you that are unfamiliar with that, that's like 3-4 hours south of Portland. I've been here for about 4 years. Beautiful little mountain town. And I'm a brand strategist by trade. So I actually spent the better part of the last decade at Nike. And then I left last year and started doing my own consulting, really focusing on marketing and design strategy. And outside of that, I love to run. I love to train and have 2 little kids that are 4 and 6. So a lot of projects down the pipeline that go outside of all the things I just mentioned, but that's a little bit about me, I guess, about the main kind of key points that I usually share with people.
No, that's super cool. And I guess and one of the reasons why I'm so inspired by you and why I love following you, on Instagram and socials is just because I see you do so much for women in business. And I mean, I'm in a very male heavy industry as I work in music. So it can be kind of tough, but it's so funny. I was telling Eric from On the Runs that I was so nervous to reach out to you, but this is going to be the most niche story I'm going to tell you. And then I swear to God, I will shut up and I will let you talk and everybody can listen. So you founded Deschutes Women in Business, right? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. Super niche again. So I work for Live Nation in CRM marketing, and I primarily focus on like the premium line of business and Live Nation special events, and we've kind of branched out in all these other departments. But we have an amphitheater in Bend, and it's Hayden Homes Amp.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's ours.
Okay, cool.
I've never been. I have to go.
Yeah, beautiful.
I have to go. Yeah. But they have the point of the story. They do have a Deschutes deck, and literally for weeks I'm working on Hayden Homes, and I'm like, I just need to ask Hillary to be on the pod. So here we are.
Beautiful. Honored.
So
what a
cool.
Small world, weird connections. And yeah, I mean, get out here. You know what's funny? I've been here for 4 years and I've never been to a show there. Which people here would be like, they're going to come at me after I say that, because like it is every Saturday night, but the beautiful thing is it's right on the river. And so like oftentimes on Saturday nights, that's when we do our kids swap. I share my kids 50-50. And oftentimes I'll drop them at 5 o'clock on Saturday nights in the summers and then take my dog and walk down there, because you can walk the river and you can hear the music. And so there's ways to kind of like listen in, even if you're not always buying tickets, but like people love that. So you guys are doing a great job.
Good to know. Hopefully I'm doing well on the marketing front. We'll see. We'll see what people say this summer.
Yeah, I mean, it's so come out for it.
We'll get you there too. That's awesome. But no, do you want to share a little bit about that and how you founded Women in Business?
Deschutes Women in Business. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is an interesting one. I mean, I feel like oftentimes a lot of the projects that I invest in are things that it's going to sound is something that I need personally. So, and I can talk to other ones, but specifically, last year when I decided to leave Nike, that was a pretty big move for me, being a single parent, being there for about 10 years. There's these questions when you work for a big brand for a long time and in the corporate world of like, are my skills transferable? Can I do this elsewhere? And where do I want to play? And one of the things that I was kind of realizing as I was stepping out of Nike and thinking about how I wanted to work my network is like my network was in Portland, LA, New York, London. Like no one was in Bend. And I'd been here for a couple of years, but like I was like, there has to be other businesswomen here. Like I just don't know where they are.
Yeah.
And I had met a friend and heard through like a friend of a friend about this like one woman, Marin, who had created this outdoor networking group. And it was men and women, and it was like coffee and co-working. And so I went to that, and it just like sparked the idea. And, there's probably like 15 people that showed up. I'm like, this is good. This is interesting. I'm not necessarily niche into outdoor, but like, there's got to be more women. I met a couple people there, and I started seeding the idea of like, would you show up? Just a couple friends that I knew that were entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, et cetera. And we just decided to make something happen and understand really. Part of it was like, I want to personally connect and know if there's an appetite and need for this, if we can bring people together. And it's something that I feel like I need. And the first event we had, actually, it was a year ago this week. We just had like our first year anniversary. It was 20 people. Lucy Reynolds, who used to be my executive coach and owns Murmuration Collective, a beautiful coaching and immersive experience coaching company, led it. And since then, every month we've had one, and it's grown. Our last, gosh, we've started to charge for the events, just because when you have a bigger venue, you actually people like need to.
For sure.
We need to fund it. But we've had over 100 women we've gone over capacity every time. And the last one we had was 70. We are supposed to be 60 at capacity this last Wednesday. And it's just been really neat. So, I would say overall, it's been a really cool opportunity to kind of see a need and recognize how many badass women in business are actually in this area and in all sorts of different disciplines. Depending where you are, when you're in a bigger city, I think oftentimes, we, and I include myself, we take networking for granted because there's so much there. But in maybe smaller places or places that there's a lot of remote workforce, it's a really cool opportunity to both like connect, network, and resource one another to help, accelerate our own businesses, moving them forward.
No, for sure. Oh my God, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing. And to your point, like I work in New York, and I live in Jersey. So it's like in Jersey, it's a little bit niche. Yeah, but like New York is like it's almost like there's so much going on that like you're like grasping for networking, and I'm like, everybody's 10 different places. I don't know where to go. It's crazy. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
that's
come
so
on out
cool.
here and I'll come out there. And I mean, that is also the beauty of what a lot of the women, I would say, honestly, depending on the field that they're in, there's a lot of local small business owners, which are doing incredible things, especially for the community here. And then a lot of us, where truly most of our clients are going to be based outside of this kind of town. But, we get the perks of being able to travel back to city life too.
No, for sure. It's so awesome to bring it to like such a small town is so cool. And I guess like as a brand strategist, do you have a favorite project that you've worked on? Whether it be Nike or something you're doing now, if you're willing to share, of course.
Yeah, no. It's a great question. The types of projects that I'm gonna go with what first came to mind because it was a really special project. When I was at Nike, right around COVID, when we first started working remote, I ended up being moved into the Nike Stores organization. And so I had actually started my career in more experiential, like in real life training and development and work and in hospitality and events. Sorry, I'm losing all my words. But I'd started in the physical space. And then I moved to digital, especially when I worked at Nike. I did a lot of digital and global. And moving into Nike stores, one of the interesting things was the first project that I was brought onto was thinking about what is the new concept for small format retail? And we were looking at what does it look like for Asia? So that's where Nike Style was born. Which is a small kind of niche concept that really did some like very cool executions in Korea and China, and they started to make some extensions into the States. But one of the neat things about that project was one, being able to go learn how to work with the team remote. Like it was like the first time we're all trying to figure out remote working, but also how to be really creative in that kind of remote environment. And from my perspective, like I love understanding the insights. I love understanding like a market need, and I love connecting creative teams to deliver something that's like game changing and innovative in the marketplace. And it really
Sure.
was. And so there was a lot of really incredible experiences we brought to life in both the customization and content capture and creation and storytelling. That was so fun for that market. And I think, from a Nike standpoint, a lot of the things that we do are like these big brand scalable things that take years and years to do. And we were able to bring that to market in a really quick and nimble and exciting way. So it's always fun to have projects that are just a little bit more on the creative side,
For sure.
and a little bit different and first of their kind for a brand. So that was a
Oh
fun
my
one.
God, that's
That's,
awesome.
that was a Nike highlight.
That's super cool. And is that where like your love for running started? Like how did you get into running?
Yeah. Not
I
necessarily.
know it's such a general
Nike,
question.
no, Nike is part of the story. Nike is part of the story for sure. Okay, so I grew up playing soccer, loved it. And as a kid, I was a really shy, kind of awkward kid. I was definitely the person that like kind of stood back. I observed a lot. I didn't want to like ruffle feathers. And I played soccer for a bit. In high school, I ran cross country for 2 years because I stopped playing soccer and I wanted to be a part of a team. I wanted to be a part of a sport, but I definitely wasn't passionate about it. I was
Mhm,
a pain to my core coach because I was good enough that I was like naturally that I was the third seat on varsity.
mhm.
But like, then I was like, no, I'm good. I'm going to coast right here. And he would be
You're like,
yelling
"Peace
at
out."
me. And I'd be yelling back. I'd be like, I'm going as fast as I can. And I was like, I
Mhm,
wasn't if I could yell like that. So I did that for 2 years, but I would say like that definitely didn't ignite a passion for running, but I've always loved to move. And for me, it's like art and movement are the two different things that have really like always like fed my soul. And there were times throughout, my 20s that I would continue to go on runs. It helped me clear my mind. But for the most part, it was like just different forms of movement were the most exciting. I will say, I don't remember exactly what sparked it, but at one point, I think I was like 23, 24, or something like that. I decided to run my first marathon. And I ran the Maui Oceanfront Marathon, which is this like humid, hilly, crazy course. And it was great. And it was like I checked that box. And then I wasn't sure if I was going to continue down that path. But a couple years later, I fell into Nike, which is an interesting thing because I grew up in the area where Nike is based, right? And so like
mhm.
half the kids, like everyone, like that's their dream job. And for me, I was like, I'm going to leave this town and never come back. And lo and
Yeah.
behold, I had made it back somehow, and then made it into Nike. And very quickly, I ended up falling into a group of people that ended up being really incredible runners. And two of them, Amanda Basham is one of them. She runs for Ultra now. She's a professional trail
Mhm.
runner. She's run for a handful of different incredible brands. And Keely Henninger also. She ran for Nike Trail for a bit and a few others. And so I was just surrounded by this like excellence, and also introduced to the ultra field for the first time. Like I'd really never heard of people doing 100 milers. And I was just
Yeah.
like, tell me more. So I was so curious. So I think that's the first time where I started like running a little bit more consistently. And throughout those couple of years, I ran Boston, I ran a couple more races. But then, quite honestly, like I started moving up in my career more at Nike pretty quickly, and I definitely left that to the back burner. And with
Mhm.
that, other things happened in regard to like you know tumultuous sort of marriage, and ended up having kids, and throw all that stuff in the mix. And like I still ran, and I still like loved movement, but it was never a consistent practice. And yeah, it wasn't until my divorce about 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago now, um, that all changed,
Oh my
and I started
gosh.
getting serious. So long backstory, but all to
No, I
say, it
love it.
wasn't always like some people are like, so where'd you run in college? I'm like, definitely did not. My college
I
days
mean,
were much lazier.
I'm in
More
the same boat actually. It's funny because again, I keep shouting out on the runs, but I did hear you say that about art and soccer like growing up. That is literally me to a T. And when I
oh,
I like but I've always had a job too. So when
yeah.
I started playing soccer in high school, you're on like I was on varsity, so like just a lot of time after school. It's like every day, whatever. And when I got my first job, I was like, screw this. Like
Yeah.
I kind of just like was like, I'm done with this. I'm out of here. But yeah, and then it kind of I kind of fell back into it. But no, so how do you balance running and being a mom of 2 kids. And we're gonna get to all the Great World Race, of course, and all that, but, like,
We've
just
talked
in
about it
general.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is what you make it. I think there's this myth that, and maybe it's not a myth, but maybe it's a ingrained belief. And even when I was growing up, like moms didn't really work out or didn't have like sport passion. So at least the ones that I was exposed to. And there's this like, it's like you give up at a certain point, the fun stuff for your career, or you give up the things you're passionate about for your kids. And for me, I just am like very much of the mindset of like, no, I refuse. I refuse for that to be my reality. And I think it's a limiting belief of like, I can only, because there's this like, you can only do one thing excellent. And I'm like, you know what? But maybe I don't want to be just like the goat at one thing. I actually
Mhm.
want to be really good at a multitude of things. And that doesn't mean I want to do everything, but I want to know the things that like fill me up. And the beautiful thing is there's like these things feed each other. There's this word in like the animal kingdom called like mutuality, where there's like mutual like
Mhm.
relationships where it's like the shark and the fish that attached to it, and like they're both like mutually beneficial to each other's like health and wellness and ecosystem. And that's a weird example, but what I'm bringing it back to is like when my work and running, when I'm doing well with my running, like my work usually thrives. And when I am thoughtful about my work, I like can show up well in my running. And same thing with parenting. And I think you have to be thoughtful across that, but like they really feed each other. And they help keep me balanced. Because for me, being somebody that loves the arts, that loves strategy, that loves movement, like if I'm pulling away from the movement piece, and I've done this for different seasons, and I really over index and rev into work, I end up taking the energy that I would normally exert in the physical space and exert it mentally. And then I almost like burn myself to a point where emotionally I'm unavailable. And
Mhm.
so it's like, it's a way of like what for me, it's being able to find what the right outlets are for my energy to make sure that I'm keeping the right energy balances and systems in place to be successful. So with that said, like how do you actually do it tactically? It's like I've shared some things about this, and I could spend 2 hours talking about like what a day looks like, but I'm really thoughtful about planning my calendar. I live by a calendar, and if I block my running times so I know when I'm working out, I know what my workouts are the day ahead, at least, if not
Mhm.
multiple days ahead. I like will at least know what my clothes are. Sometimes if it's early morning in the run, I'm going to set out my clothes. I think about my nutrition before and after. And if needed, like I have accountability, right? I have people, whether it's like my coach, which I am always like a big advocate for coaches, and or sometimes literally I will have friends that I text, like
Yeah.
be like, I'm going to be on at 5 a.m. I need you to check in with me. And I have a couple early riser friends who are like, bless them, and they will literally text me at like 55 and like, you up? And I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm good, lacing up right now. And so that makes it, that makes you like able to actually do it. Now, what I will say though, and I know this is a long-winded answer, is like there are trade-offs. And I would think I want people to hear this because it's like, oh, well, you just like do it all. But the thing is, like, we had a conversation the other day. I was at a party in LA, and there's like we were talking to this guy who's a producer, and he's incredible, brilliant, like. And there was a point in the conversation. I was like, "What's the best movie you've seen recently?" And I was like, I cannot contribute to this conversation.
That is literally me.
Because I can't tell you the last time I saw a show or a movie, because like
Mhm.
what I'm doing after I put my kids to bed is like I'm getting the house in order. I'm going through like my like recovery routine, and I'm like I might like read a little bit of something, but like I don't watch TV and movies, and I get to bed early so I can get up early to get my training in. And for me, that's actually really life-giving, and it feels good and right. And I figured out what those like different outlets for me are. But I will say it's like there are certain things that I've slowly cut out over time that also give me a lot of time back.
Mhm. No, and I appreciate you sharing that because I think A, I think that's gonna resonate with a lot of people, and B, I think it's so true for so many of us. I mean, I don't have kids, but I have a very, very busy work life, like,
Yep.
very, very busy, especially in
Yep.
the summer with concerts going on and things and events and all this, and I have to be here and there, so I totally live by my calendar as well, but to your point, like, when I sit down at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm tapped out. Like, I
Yeah.
am
Yeah.
completely tapped out. I'm like, I can clean up, I can sit, But like if I'm sitting, I'm either wrapping up a work email and then just like shutting my laptop and I'm done for the day, or I'm like, I just need 10 minutes of silence.
Yeah.
So I respect that so much.
And I mean, there's something, it's funny because at first it's like, it goes back to what are you like, how are you using your mind and giving your mind rest too? So for
Mhm.
me, I think, some old behavior would be like, and sometimes occasionally I will, I'm not like anti TV or anything, but like, it is actually, I know it's more restful for my mind to do a little like dump in a journal or to listen to like an audiobook of something I want to like learn a little bit about
Mhm.
and then go to bed than it is to kind of like watch something to check out. Because here's how my mind works. And this is maybe like my brain might be a little broken. I get so revved up about everything that I get to do. And I say get to very choicefully, but like the work stress, the planning, what's the next day, the runs, the training, the things I'm like concerned about, or the things that I'm excited about, even sometimes like I stay up at late in bed because I'm excited about something. Like I just can't wait for the next day.
Same.
Like, I'm kind of a
Yeah.
psycho. But if I just go into like, and I've done this recently, so this is why I was remembering, like if I go and like I'm going to check out and watch something for an hour, and then I try to go to bed after that, I just go straight back into the overthinking mode.
Mhm.
And so for me to actually take the time to like write down the next day or do something that I know, like a magnet, like Epsom salt bath, like that actually helps me settle into having a good night's rest better than checking out with, a certain form of media, for example.
No, I agree completely. I think it's so hard for me to sleep after I like watch TV at the end of the day, or but I'm with you on that. Like while I do live by a calendar and I have like a lot of structure in my running, I think the time that I sit down and I actually focus on like what's next is the night before. Like I know it's coming and I'm planning it the whole week, like long runs, for example. Like I'm training for Boston right now. So like
Oh, nice.
when
Cool.
things got, I know I'm excited. It's my second one. I hope it's better than last year. I think it will be. It's fine.
It will.
um, but yeah, when work was getting really crazy at the beginning of this year, I was like, I just have to stop going out. I have to like say no to events on Friday nights.
Yeah.
And it's like my
Yeah.
ritual now. I'm like, and one of my coworkers said the same thing. And she was like, I'm starting this thing. And I was like, let's hold each other accountable because that's my time to like sit down and be like, how am I going to feel tomorrow morning? Let's
Yeah.
manifest this now for a
Yeah.
Saturday morning long run. But no, and I guess that leads me to my next question for you. Like, do you find that you bring your like work patterns to your runs? Like, are you very strategic in your run legitimately? Is that a silly question? I'm
No,
so interested to hear because
it's not
I
a silly
used to do it
question.
and now I'm like,
It's
I
not a
gotta
silly
chill.
question. Actually, I'm laughing because I've never been asked that before, so it's a good question.
Oh wow.
And I might be a little bit embarrassed of my answer because yes, I am very strategic in my running. And I say that because, part of the reason why maybe I say I'm a little embarrassed is because there's so many people that I really admire that are like soul runners. And
Mhm.
they are just like they go out, they go with the flow, they're like so in tune with their bodies. And don't get me wrong, like I love entering into flow state. I am really in tune with my body. And when for me, one of the things I know about myself, sometimes it's really good and really healthy for me to have joy runs. And that's what I'll
Mhm.
kind of call them. Even for my athletes that I coach, I like, this is a joy run. And so it's like you do whatever you need, whatever you feel, go fast, go slow, go hills, go with friends. Like your goal is to find joy in this. But, when it comes to actual training, like a lot of it is very strategic because like I want it to lead towards something. And for me,
Mhm.
I actually do get a lot of joy about putting in the work. And and it's funny, even as I say that, I kind of get chills because I'm like, I'm nervous. I'm nervous and I'm afraid and I'm excited. And
Yeah.
even for certain workouts, like when I I can't tell you how many times, like the beauty of coaches, like they give you a workout and you're like, there's no way.
Oh
There's
yeah.
no way I can hit those times. And then you get in there and you're like, okay, I'll try one. And you're like, okay, maybe I can. And then you try two, and being able to actually do more than you think you're capable of is such a beautiful blessing. So yes, in both the way that I structure my days, I'm very strategic about like, try to be like what I eat, what I drink beforehand, what types of runs are on certain days. When I have really heavy like work days, I try to not have a really intense run. Cause like for me, stress is stress and the mental
Mhm.
load really overrun into a run, but generally speaking, both in workouts as well as general racing, I would say yes. I play a lot of the games too, like a lot of mind games. especially
Yeah,
when I'm
oh, same. And back to your point about the things that I text my coach when I look at my my training peaks, I'm like, "Can we not?" Like, I don't think
I think this is for a different athlete.
I'm like, "I think you meant this, like, to program this for your ultra runner, not me."
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny. But I'm with you. I am very strategic in that way too, but I'm very much like, "Ugh, I'll have to try one," and then once I try one, I'm like, "Okay, it'll be
Yeah.
fine.
And
It'll be
that, I mean,
fine."
that's the beauty. And that's a big part of why I have a coach, right? Like
Mhm.
accountability is one part. And I think that's beautiful for anybody that's striving to get into running, to get better, to get a routine. I mean, consistency, there's a beautiful quote I found recently that was like, consistency isn't saying I did 6 out of 7 days and then you fall off. Like that's not consistency. Consistency is looking back at the month and saying you did 24 out of 30. Like
Mhm.
that over time is like consistency compounds. And if you're having trouble getting into a rhythm, having somebody that you're paying, like when you put your money down, like you generally speaking are going to show up for that a bit more. And I think for
Mhm.
me, that was actually one of the shifts. Like when I, going back to like the post divorce, I'm like, I think I want to like really actually commit to running and be more consistent with it. That was one of the first things I did. I hired a coach and it was for accountability. And then
Mhm.
over time you realize I'm like, oh, they're going to make you be faster just because like they see your potential in a way. And sometimes you need people to speak into your potential. The coach I have right
100%.
now, the reason why I chose him was because he like spoke a pretty absurd goal into the ether. And I was like, I'm not sure if I can do that. And he's like, no, you can. And I'm just
Mhm.
like, well, you're more confident than I am. I'm afraid of it. I'm excited about it. I think that's a yes. And so we
Yeah.
decided to work together.
No, I appreciate that so much because it's kind of the same relationship I have with my coach. He's very much like I'll have such a shitty run and we'll have a check-in and he's like, "That was so great. I'm gonna up your paces." And I'm like, "What?" Like I'm like, "That was the worst performance ever." And then I get embarrassed because I'm like, I don't even look at it. Like I'm embarrassed that I just did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And you're seeing this on the receiving end. But yeah, and then I've had coaches where they're like, not that they doubt what I'm capable of doing, but I don't know if it was like a mind game where they were like trying to make me work a little harder, but
Mm.
they would never be like, he would never be like, "You can't do this," but it was like along those lines. And I'm like, "Well, watch me." And then I would just go do it. And I'm like, "Don't ever tell me no again."
Yeah.
um, but
Not
it's
sure. Yeah.
cool.
That's
Yeah,
really
no. And honestly, like that's why I hired a coach too. I needed the like accountability. I think at this point I'm confident I could like train for a marathon on my own,
yeah.
but it's that extra step where you're like, someone's watching me
Yeah.
and you kind of
You
have
have a
to.
sounding board for if
I
anything goes
know.
wrong. Yeah. Coach is looking.
Totally, totally. All right. So you're coaching yourself? Like, do you have athletes? So you're a
I
coach
do.
yourself?
Yeah. So I have a very limited set of athletes that I work with.
Mhm.
And that is specifically one, I'm newer to coaching. So I got my personal trainers and SAM certification last spring. Actually, when I left Nike, I was like, oh, this would be fun. And I really did it for me. I got that,
Mhm.
my CPT and my Roadrunners Club of America run coach certification. And I loved it. It was so fun. Like I'm a learner nerd, right? I love to learn. I love to like be specialized in different areas that I'm interested in. And
Mhm.
then it kind of organically happened to have a handful of people reach out and want to be coached. And so I have 4 athletes. I am not taking any
So
more.
cool.
If anybody's interested, I have a wait list and I'm glad to refer. I know a bunch of great coaches that I would be happy to give people to. But I think, yeah, it's really rewarding, and the people that I've taken on are people that are really wanting to get committed, get consistent, and work towards the goal. And that's like my main prerequisites, right?
Yeah,
Because for me, it's like I don't want to just get people to PRs. Like I want you to set up something that's sustainable so you can do this for as long as you want to be doing this. And
totally.
like we don't just talk about the runs. We talk about a lot about mindset. That's probably like I'm kind of a nerd in that area. So we get really deep into that. We always talk about mobility. We always talk about fueling. We always talk about strength training because like to be able to
Mhm.
do this for as long as you want to, you got to be thinking about it beyond just the runs. And
For sure.
I just don't want to have to watch injured athletes or people coming on and off my roster for that. And so with that, the reason why I only take 4 is because I have a full-time career and to dedicate more mental load to athletes properly, I would need to be stepping back. And so at this time, that's just what I feel comfortable with as far as client load or athlete load looks like.
No, it's awesome. I somebody told me that like coaches always have coaches.
Oh
And
yeah.
I was like, wait, that's like the biggest like trip of the mind. But it makes total sense. So it's cool that you get to see like you have a coach and then you have that perspective to share with your athletes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and you learn, I mean, you keep learning. And that gets really actually where it gets really fun. It's like when
Mhm.
you're, even for athletes, when your athletes know a little bit more, because then like you guys are like experimenting together, right? And
Yeah.
you know, training theory enough to understand why they're prescribing certain things. And you can, move things around a little bit. But again, for me at this point, it's like, I need somebody to push me harder. And the reason why I chose my coach right now is like before running the 7, I actually did spend a stint coaching myself because this was like, I didn't know anybody that had coached a 7 or
Yeah.
a 7 and 7. And so I like had my own training theory and plan and built that, and I was very satisfied with how I did with that. But after that, I was thinking about doing a fast marathon, and quite frankly, like I know how to do a decently fast marathon, but not like what we're talking about. And so Dermot, who is my coach, is like, he coaches the Irish Paralympic team. He's coached a bunch of like 2:30 marathoners. And he's like, I think we can do this. And he's like, we're going to go into 5K, 10K training basically. So I'm like, oh shit, like that I definitely don't have experience in. Like throw me in the ultra space and I'm much more comfortable. But the faster workouts, I needed somebody that was a little bit more specialized.
No, that's so interesting to hear. I'm with you too. Like I started with a half and everybody would always ask me, they're like, did you start with like a 5K? And I'm like, no, I'm terrified of a 5K. Like,
The
and
5K
then
is like a sufferfest from the
I,
line. I
I
don't understand
know
why people want to do a 5K.
the first time I lined up for a mile too, it was the Fifth Ave mile in New York. And I remember it so clearly because I had no idea what I was doing. Like I was just doing the 9+1 for like to get into the New York City Marathon for like the first time ever,
Yeah.
before I got super into it. And I lined up and some guy next to me was like, "Are you gonna sprint? Like, what are you doing?" And I was like, "I don't know. Is that what people do?" And he's like, "Yeah, we just like you go as hard as you possibly can."
Oh
And I was
wow.
like, "I feel like you should train for this." Like, it's not
Yeah.
my vibe. But throw me in for like 13 miles and I'm like, "All right." Or
I
26. I'm
mean,
like, "Please,
there's different
endurance
ways
train."
to go about it. One of my athletes actually, she's so funny. She's run multiple 50Ks, but has
Mhm.
never run a marathon. And so like her first
Wow.
marathon's in a couple of weeks. And I'm like, I think it's time for like a legit marathon too. Cause there's some things in the 50K with like, hills and fueling and all that that can just are just it's a different beast depending on the terrain that you're running. So it's,
For sure.
sometimes people start at the top and work the way down.
It's
Each their own.
me. No, and I guess jumping forward a little bit because I mean, I'm eager to hear about your experience with 777.
Oh,
How did you go from running, like, a few marathons to doing the Great World Race? And, I mean, not even just doing it, you won it, d of
yeah.
course. And you're, like, the record holder, which is amazing, and it was so insane to watch. But yeah,
Yeah.
and you trained yourself at the start? Like, what brought all
Yeah.
that on?
Yeah. It was a bit of insanity. So rewind to the divorce, and basically, that was a pretty big turning point for me in a lot of facets of my life. Like one of the
Mhm.
things, like just because it was the right thing, and honestly, like I'm not an advocate for divorce generally speaking, but in moments where it happens, like I got to choose, like, okay, this is happening for me, not to me, and what do I want my life to look like? What are the things that serve me and what are the things that aren't? And so like there was things I cut out of my life. There was certain relationships, certain habits. Um, I stopped drinking at that point. I was a lot more dialed with my nutrition, just like things that I knew that like baseline, I would start getting like kind of better and reestablishing myself. And then also it was like, well, what do I love? Like, okay, we're taking out certain things, but also what are we putting back in? What are we putting back
Mhm.
in place of some of these things that were more just like habitual, or that weren't serving me? And there were certain things where I'm like, I used to like do some snowboarding, and I used to do these types of art, and I was like, do I actually love that, or do I love that because somebody else gave me praise for it? And that's a really interesting question to ask
That
yourself, and it can be really friggin' convicting because for me, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, you know what? I don't like. I just love that people like thought it was cool that I did it. And that's
Mhm.
such an ego trip, and again, kind of embarrassing to admit, but I was like, just because you're good at something or people are praising you for it, if you don't really love it, like, what? For me, I was like, okay, let that go. And then with running, I was like, do I really love this? And I was like, yeah, I really do. I really do. And that's when I was like, okay, we'll hire a coach. We're just gonna like slowly ease in. I think I ran the Bend Marathon twice. I don't think I had any other big races. Maybe one 50K. I think I did the Smith Rock 50K or something like that. And then last summer in August, and then I got into the New York Marathon. And so I was like
Ooh.
last minute, it was actually super cool. It was one of those things where I'm like, okay, I'd run my first sub-3 marathon at the Bend Marathon 2 years ago. I came back and I was like, we're going to crush this record. We're going to go way under it because I thought I was in better shape. And I had a terrible race, mentally just like disconnected at the 13-mile mark. And I was like, it was weird. It was actually unusual, but it's like you need some of those terrible races. So I don't know what happened at Boston last year for you.
That was exactly what happened in Boston last year.
This is me just saying like there's a redemption. Like it happens for a reason. And you kind of like get to assess and look back and think of all the different things that, you would want to do differently. And having those bad races does help bolster you for all those future races and really appreciate the ones that do go well. And so I had this terrible race. And then I'm like, okay, but we need to sign up for another. So put my name in the hat for New York. It was like the day before the lottery closes. As soon as the lottery opens, like I got in. And I'm not sure exactly why. It was like 4% of people got in. Like, and I was just
it's incredible.
Yeah, I was like, I'll take it.
You're like one of one that I even heard get in through the lottery.
Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, well, I think that's great. And I ended up running that. And I ran a huge PR. But the interesting thing was, so I signed up for that. I just started training. And then I heard about the 7. And that's where, it was just one of those things where at first I thought it was a scam. No joke. But then I was like, well, but certain people that I knew, like Ryan Hall and like Bex and some of these other people are like, well, they're legit. And so if it's a scam, they're going down too. And so
we'll all go down together.
Exactly. And then I had a call with David, and David's like the mastermind and just like such a charmer. And I was like, okay, this seems like a real thing. And I was like, I don't know why I'm going to do it, but I feel the call to do it. And sometimes in life, things don't make sense. And for me, the scariest part was the investment. I was in a position where I could actually make the investment financially to do it. And instead of investing it in different areas, I'm like, look, this is once in a lifetime. I'm going to invest in experience. And I did. And so I had 3 months to train. I built my own training plan that I think I titled like highest mileage without injury. Let's fucking go. Like that was like the long title.
You need that on a t-shirt or something.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And ran it to the best of my ability, and it all worked out. Yeah. The cool thing was training for the 7 actually led to my PR at New York. It was like an 11-minute PR.
Wow.
Ended up running like a 2:44.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was great. And so I was like, oh, higher mileage training. I mean, it definitely pays off in the marathon. And then 10 days later, ran the Great World Race. It was crazy.
Oh my God. That's incredible. And now you're the record holder. Did you have a favorite race during the week?
Oh, that's a hard one. I loved Australia. There was something about, I loved Antarctica because it was so rare and it was the first one. Australia, there was something there, like we ran fast. I think we ran like a 3:02 or 3:00, something like pretty quick, but it was beautiful. The sunset, the bridges, there were so many laps that was kind of a pain, like kind of painful, but like you also got to see everyone. And it was kind of one of those early ones where you just like, everyone was really hyping each other up. The Australians were incredible, so welcoming. So that was amazing. And then the second Istanbul race, the first one was the rainy one, but I just like crushed through it. And then the second one was a funny one because that was a day where like the night before it was like 9:10 when we started running. It was pissing rain. It was terrible footing. It was just like kind of a miserable race. Shireen had some gut issue. A handful of like girls had gut issues, and the next day, like Shireen was like, I'm going, I'm feeling good. And I'm like, you go. And I remember her and Ashley took off, and they were like at one point running like 6:20s. And I was like, not smart for me. Like, I'm like, this is not gonna, I'm going to pull it back. And in my mind, that's where I was like, but I would love to run a sub-3 for one race. I would love to get a sub-3. And so I was like, I knew what that time was. I'm like, okay, let's just like click off. I love the 6:44 pace. Like there's something about the number, right? And so that was a fun race for me because I was like, it was the only race that I was really looking at splits, and I was kind of like in my own thing. And each of the races had really different meanings because some of them were so tied to camaraderie and working with one another, and some
Mhm.
were tied to going deep within yourself. So it's really hard to pick a single one, but I think there's those moments like Australia was this camaraderie, like Istanbul, the second one was just like working what I knew and like honoring my body. And of course, like Miami at the end was like absolute fucking sufferfest. I like
Yeah.
people are like, what was the hardest race? I was like, Miami, just because we had no sleep and I was dead. But
It's
we still
insane.
finished. So,
No, and I think that's what's so special about it, and what's so special about watching all the races every day on the little live stream. I was on
yeah,
there.
my God.
I had it like my work laptop and then another little iPad next to me. I think to your point, it was cool to see some races like you guys all finished together, like all the ladies, and then there were other races where like you could tell that each of you individually were totally just like, I got to finish this. I got to get through it, but it's like me on my own and like me and my 2 feet. That's it.
Yeah. And
No,
that's okay.
it's so cool.
And I think that's like the beautiful respect of the camaraderie that we had built. Bex and I were talking about this earlier today, actually. Just like we're going to be racing at Grandma's in Duluth, so we're having a little reunion race, which I'm really excited about
Yes.
in June. And we all want to run in a relatively similar time, and so like I know we'll go out together, and maybe we'll end up running some of it together. Maybe some of us will run all of it together. But like, I think the exciting thing is like if somebody takes off or if one of us isn't feeling good, there's like only respect of like
Mhm.
you do what you need to take care of you. Like of course we'll always push and be like, hey, hold on, like we'll try to be that for each other. But there's just such this like beautiful deep respect for our bodies, for our minds, for what we know we can do. And I mean, I can guarantee you I would not have run as fast as I did on average without that group of women. Like there was no way, because there was just times where it's like, and maybe part of that too is like I would have probably run some of the first ones faster and then blown up.
Mhm.
Honestly, like that, just because you do get kind of, I should say, I get kind of bored. Like,
I get so
you know,
bored.
it's hard to run not there's certain paces that like your body feels better in certain positions, and to pull it back even a little bit, it's kind of like I want to get this done. And I
Mhm.
think that's like, some people did that, and I think it wreaked some havoc at certain periods. And so that in a race like that, there's just a whole talk about strategy. There's like a whole nother layer of strategy within fueling, within pacing, within mindset that you have to be really, really careful of. It's much more like the ultra distances than it is like a marathon.
That is, I could never do it. So I
Yeah,
hear
you
you so
can.
much.
Oh,
I
100%.
don't know.
You
I don't
say that,
know.
and I'm like, David, I have
I
something
know.
for you.
I know. I told Eric, I was like, maybe one day. And then I was texting my friend Mariana while we were watching you guys on the live stream. And she works at Peloton with Bex, and
Oh, nice.
she's like, that's gonna be you. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. um, I'm like, I'll just live vicariously through you guys. No, backtracking for 1 second. Whose idea was it to run grandmas? Like what
Good
decided, how
question.
did you guys decide to do that one?
Oh, I actually think it was some of the other girls on the race that lived there that were originally going to do it. And people just like kept talking about it. And then I felt like
Hmm.
Shireen was like, I don't know if it was Shireen or Ashley. I'm not sure which one. Oh, but the reason we were like, oh, that could be a good one because it's a really flat, fast course. It's good timing. But then they were closed. But then Ashley's like, well, not the elite field. And it just so happens that like the elite timing, it was like a 2:45. I'm like, I'm qualified, which was great. And I think the master's time was like 2:50. Like everyone was able to get in through
Yes.
like which was neat. And so we all are going to be running in the elite field as well.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
A nice little perk. It will be my first official. It's outside of like a ultras. You can sign up in the elite field without like qualifying, but like this will be my first like elite field marathon. So
That's so exciting.
it works.
So
Yeah.
you're going for the PR. That's the
Oh yeah.
goal?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Definitely
I mean,
going
it's
for
like
PR.
flat, isn't it? It's flat and fast.
It's flat and fast, and like who knows, something like the wheels could fall off. I've been working through injuries like after Black Canyon, and I'm feeling really good right now. Like knock on wood, that I finally got. Just like I've been really dedicated to the bike for the last couple of weeks, and I ended up running 2 days ago. I was like, I'm dying. I'm ready to run. I feel so good. I want to try it. And I ran, I'd run 5 miles as kind of a test run at like a decent pace and it felt great. And 2 days later, I ran like 7. But 5 of them, I was like 6:15, and I was like loving it. And the
Yeah.
best part was, it wasn't just I loved it in the moment, but then the next day I'm like, I feel fine. I feel fine. Like, we're
It's
good.
we're
We're
just
back.
not going to talk about it past
Yeah.
this.
Well, and it's funny because I told my coach, he's like, okay, that's amazing. I'm so stoked. Now, chill the fuck out. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, we don't need to, like, I'm glad you tested the impact, but it's like, and truly, it's so funny because even as somebody that like coaches, like, I would never prescribe that for an athlete, but
Mhm.
also I can understand, like, there are these moments where we need, like, you can trust your body, you can lean in, you can test the waters a little bit. And sometimes, like, for me, that was just like a moment where I needed mentally, like, I needed to push and I needed to see. So fingers crossed, we are back on the ups and heading into a training block that will be fiercely fast. But
Love
speed
it.
has never been my thing. So this is new waters for me.
I'm manifesting a PR for you.
Thank
And
you.
I hope you get off the bike soon because I feel like a caged animal when I have to go on the bike.
Yeah, I'm learning to love it, and I'm telling myself that. And there's moments where I do, and there's moments where I'm like, I thought I loved it and I
I
hated it.
know, I know. I
But
know. I almost replied to your poll when you said when you had like a Q&A or whatever on your Instagram, and I was like, I'm just going to save it for the pod, but also I get this to my core. I hate it so much, but working on it.
it's brutal. But I will say, I have a friend who's Gary Hand, who's this incredible cycling coach, espresso cycling. He's coached multiple world record holders, is a professional cyclist from Scotland, and he such a gem of a human, and he is like such an advocate and interested in like how you use cycling within other sports, right? Because of the load that it takes off from an impact standpoint. And
Mhm.
so nerding out with him also helped me be like, this could be like a powerhouse tool from a longevity standpoint and a training standpoint. The tricky thing that we're trying to work out still in all this is like, it just does take more time. Like, if you have all the
Yeah.
time in the world, like, oh my God, I would be programming bike workouts into everyone's training plan because you can just get so much more volume without the impact.
Mhm.
Um, but anyway, that's a whole nother story. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm an advocate for cycling. And I'm also like, and I'm trying to figure out how to love it. And it
I
gives me more.
know. I know. I used to only be on the bike and then I think I like made myself sick of it. And now I'm like, I'm just gonna keep running. Um,
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that was your transition. That's cool.
yeah, it was like a COVID thing when we couldn't really run, when everybody was like scared to run
No.
outside. And I was
Yep.
in New York, so I was like, well, I don't want to be around anyone. So I just
Yeah.
stayed in on the bike.
Yeah.
And then when they let us free, I was like, oh my God, I can run
Again.
again. I'm never going back on the bike. No, and I guess before we wrap up, because this has been amazing, I would love for you to share about your podcast if you're willing.
Oh, yeah.
Please. I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited for it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I'm laughing a little bit because we actually just re-recorded one this morning. Bex and I had initially recorded the first one in her place in Brooklyn on her floor. It was sweet. The content was so good, but we had one mic between us, and so her voice was slightly muted. And I was like, "Damn it!" I was trying to like cut it and post produce it into a way, and I was like, this isn't happening. So,
Yeah.
with that said, looking less than 2 weeks out, we'll have it out in the open, and we have a couple other ones recorded with some other incredible guests. But the podcast is called Movement People, and that's MVMNT People, and it's really the premises to really explore with the different guests how we grow both individually and collectively through movement. So not just running, not just endurance sports. I have some people on the docket who are breathwork coaches who are looking at it from more of a scientific standpoint. But going back to kind of, for me personally, the reason why that I love to move, I love to run is because it feeds me so deeply in my like soul and mentally and emotionally and in the rest of my life. I want to explore that more. And I want to bring people that
So
have
cool.
explored that themselves and their own experiences and explore that in these specific fields so we can understand and be really more inspired and to actually like activate movements in our life. Because I know right now, like we're in one of the most sedentary cultures that have ever existed in society.
Yeah.
And to not look at movement so much from the form of like, I want to move to change my body so it looks away, but I want to move because my body was made to move. It's an honor to move. And the more that I do move in capacities that feel good to me and use my body in capacities that feel right, the better I show up as a human.
For sure. I love that. Oh my God, I can't wait to listen. It's gonna be
Yeah.
great. It's on Spotify. It's going to be on Spotify, Apple Pods, everything.
Yeah, Spotify and Apple. So
love it.
Coming soon. I feel like I've been saying coming soon for a month and a half now.
No, I will tell you.
Of all this is a lot more detailed than I think sometimes we anticipate it to be. But at this point, it's going to be progress versus perfection. For anybody that knows me, and for those of you that don't, I am in my career very much a perfectionist. I do brand and creative for very high-end brands. And so for me to put something out into the wild that feels much more raw and uncut is painful and a great exercise that I am looking to lean more into. So it's not going to be polished, but it's going to be real.
Hey, listen, I that's me to a T. I feel like maybe we were separated at birth at some point because I literally just said that to a friend. I was like, it's way out of my comfort zone to do this, but it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Everybody tells me you just have to trust yourself. So I just keep pretending like everything's fine and let the pod go as is. But I can't wait to listen. And I'm so grateful that you came here today to chat. This has been so great. I hope you had fun.
Yeah, thank you. It's been an honor to be here. I love seeing your whole setup in the background.
That's
I know
crazy.
we talked about that beforehand. No, but I've had so many great chats with Bex and other people that have been on the show, and they're all sung your praises. So yeah, it's an honor to be here, and I'm excited to hear it and see how Boston goes.
We'll see.
It'll be great.
I'll keep you posted.
We'll work on mindset stuff.
That's right. I'm gonna need your guidance on that. Yeah. I know you're not taking athletes, but if you have any tips for me mentally,
I need you. I mean, actually, yeah, though. Like that can be the next podcast. We'll just get into the mindset first.
No, for sure. All right. Well, thanks, Hillary. This has been awesome. As always, I had the best time recording that track with Hillary, and I really hope you all enjoyed this episode too. Thanks for tuning in to this track of the Allie G Show. If you enjoyed it, feel free to like it, share it, listen to it, all of the things on a weekly basis, and follow along on Instagram at @_Allie G Show for updates and new track releases. I will be very much sharing all of Hillary's socials in the show notes, so you can follow along with her too. Thanks for listening.